How have you been preparing for finally a week without two games? How does that change? How have you been preparing for this match?
It's nice to have that week leading into such a big game against a top side like Philly. More preparational opportunity. Guys get the ability to do some extra work and to just be in what we would class as maybe tip-top condition for such a big challenge. We got lucky today as well with the weather. It looked like it was gonna be a difficulty for us with storms rolling in, but maybe that's a little bit of an omen. So all good.
Thank you, Coach. We will kick off the questions from media with Ray Hughes from the Tennessean.
Thanks. Gary, good afternoon. I'm curious, obviously, as you're going into this month of July, as you mentioned, it's going to be a week without two matches, but that's going to be coming soon, and obviously Gold Cup. I'm curious to know the update and your perspective on Lolly Pinheiro and what you think about his progress. Have you seen any significant progress from him in the past few weeks?
I've seen progress from him, Drake, since he's been here. And I've been asked this question multiple times about Rodrigo. He's a terrific kid. He's very talented, hence the reason he's with the group. But there are a lot of things that I don't think any of us realise. Coming to a brand new culture, first time he's been away from his home country and family. He's here without his girlfriend, without his parents. And as I say, the first time that he's been somewhere outside of Uruguay, he's coming to terms with the language. He's trying to get used to new teammates, possibly a new style of play and focus on the game. And listen, this kid's very, very genuine, and I do believe he will be a good player for us as we continue to move, in our evolution. But at the moment, he's got competition from a number of other players, and at this point in time, there are one or two that are just getting the nod in front of him. And as long as he continues down the path he's on, there's no reason why, as we move forward, he's not going to see more time on the field.
Tim Sullivan with Clapham Country.
Gary, with Walker, Anibal, and Alistair getting set to leave for national duty after this weekend with their countries, who are some of the guys that you're looking to step up? I guess particularly in Alistair's spot, since he's played, I think, the most consistently out of those three guys so far this year.
Well, the good thing is we've been able to either construct the group in a way originally to give us some depth, or certainly in the case of our right back spot, have added in an individual like Dylan Nealis, who's incredibly capable. We've got a good young right back in Alistair Johnson, who's gone, he's jumped in leaps and bounds to his national team from the college draft, and understandably, playing regularly in the group. But this is a good opportunity for someone like Dylan, Eric Miller, Jaleel. These guys are all capable. If we're playing, with a back four in that shape, and it's something that I certainly enjoy, to have guys that are competing for that position, and getting more out of one another. Competition anywhere on the field is vitally important. Listen, the other positions that we were talking about at centre back and centre midfield, with the loss of Walker and Annabelle, again, go without saying, I don't have a preconceived idea of this player must play and will play at all costs. It is about the best option and the most informed player at the time. And Jack has given us a really good insight as to where he's at in the last two games. But if I know and understand Jaleel, he'll be working tremendously hard to try and unseat Jack as maybe the next body into that position. And likewise in centre midfield, Brian Anunga's back fit. Matt LaGrassa has been a real good support in there. we got good competition.
Thank you, Coach. We have a follow-up from Dre Hill.
Yeah, a two-part for me, Gary. The first is obviously as you came out of the international break, you were clear on how it was very beneficial to have that time to really tinker and see what your side looked like in different shapes. I'm curious to know, is that something that you feel prepared for to maybe instill during these next couple of weeks? And then the second part is, how is Dambaji doing, just obviously in his rehabilitation process?
Yeah, as far as looking at different shapes and ideas, for me it's an opportunity to have a plan B if the game's not necessarily going the way you want it to. If injuries are such that we need to look at something slightly different, and it was just a nice opportunity to do that with a window of time. I'm comfortable, and so are the group, in the way that they've been playing. We've had two very good performances in the last two home games. The players, have been positive and energetic and really upbeat in their outlook. But it's always nice to have that added string to your bow. As far as Dom, he still seems to be having some issues with that ankle. I don't think he's too far away. It's sort of the final piece of soreness that he's trying to get rid of, but at the moment he still remains unavailable to us.
One final question from Tim Sullivan.
Hey, Jerry, when you've had a chance to take a look at the Union for this upcoming weekend's game, what have you seen out of them, and who are some of the guys that you guys are really going to have to focus on being able to shut down?
Oh, well, I do think, it goes without saying, this is one of the top teams in MLS. And I have to say that, over a period of time, Jim's done a terrific job with this group. And I've got to say, it kind of always been easy. And I think we're seeing the reward for an organisation that have supported their coach incredibly well. They're getting young players through a wonderfully talented youth system. Jim's integrating those players at the right times with very good experienced players, and the reward for that is a consistently successful team that play a style of football that is incredibly competitive but also very exciting. And they're selling players. They're moving players on. They're being able to see the rewards for their academy system. In many ways, it's almost the ideal scenario. So, tremendous respect for the team and for the coach. And we're expecting maybe the toughest challenge at home that we've had yet. And I said that about New England. I do believe New England, slightly different makeup to this Philadelphia team. But in terms of challenges, and certainly at the time we're going to play them, I think this Philadelphia team will push us to our limits.
As someone from Philly who has, we know Philadelphia fans are quite strong. Does it mean any different to be playing against a Philadelphia team, or what does that mean for you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the club itself was something that was very exciting when I was a youth player to see the formal implementation and the start of a franchise within MLS in Philadelphia, I think around 2007. Somewhere around there. It was a very exciting time for the sport. Something that I always kind of had in my head of a level I'd like to play at. I couldn't imagine ever doing it. And then when I got drafted, I think my first ever start my rookie year was in Philadelphia in front of all my friends and family, which was incredibly special. But that sort of excitement and appreciation for the club and the matchup in particular sort of wears off over the years as I faced them many, many times playing for Eastern Conference teams. But certainly always something very different. Familiar with a lot of the guys. I'm able to train with them in the off season sometimes, so it's great. Familiar with a lot of good players. It's been really interesting to see how the club is sort of developed and evolved into the competitor that it is now, and it's always a pleasure to play against them and to have competition against the best teams in the conference is what it's all about.
Thank you, Dan. We will open the floor for questions. We will kick it off with Tim Sullivan with For Club and Country.
Dan, as you look at the type of matchup that this Union team will present with that diamond midfield, what are you looking at tactically and how you can handle some of the things that the Union are going to throw at you guys?
Good question. You know, I think it's something obviously to avoid getting into the the finer details of it. The broader strokes of the situation is just that they're a team that's consistent in how they defend and how they attack, and they're basically one and the same. And they've had a consistent, continuity about the group, whether that's personnel, but more stylistically, that makes it a little bit easier to pick up on. Again, they do it incredibly well. But it'll be a different look. We saw, we don't expect it to be the diamond midfield that you see against Red Bull, which is incredibly high octane. And I think Philadelphia, no disrespect to Red Bull, has a little bit more soccer playing ability and can be a bit more methodical in how they go about things and be effective. So just to be aware of those areas that they look to accomplish a lot of that. And then obviously, as always, being aware of where we can implement what makes us very good offensively and look to be a little bit more, I don't want to say aggressive, but just to have some teeth in the final third, I think would do us a whole lot of good in a game like this.
Do we, any other questions for Dan? Any follow-ups? Here we go. Tim, please go on.
Sorry, I had a typo in the chat there. Dan, when you look at how Philly is very specifically a club that is built around the academy and obviously in your hometown, but not really getting going until you, had kind of aged out of that sort of thing. What do you see in terms of maybe the future for Nashville, knowing that kids who grow up around here will have maybe some of those opportunities like that in the future?
It's incredibly valuable. I mean, look, I was certainly, like you said, on the tail end of that process being integrated into youth soccer in Philadelphia. And we were approached a few times, my club team, to be sort of the first real iteration of that at the club level to become an academy. We decided to go a different route. I was very thankful of that at the time. I thought we had a good thing going from the club perspective. But in general, look, they had to really predicate. Of course, they go about things in their own way, but at the time, Dallas might have been the gold standard within the league in terms of getting young talent acclimated to the league level and then being able to expose them to other markets and leagues around the world, which is incredibly valuable. So to have the more recent, headline successes of the Mark McKenzies, the Brendan Aronsons, those guys is incredible. And like you said, to tie it back to Nashville, it's something that's attainable. I think as the net becomes bigger and more effective in grasping talent from different markets, different areas of the country, we're going to start to see this more and more. And it's something I think we should take a lot of pride in, being able to pump out players that, we find in our backyard here in Nashville, and we can have them contribute on the first team level in MLS, but also help them grow and become players that can go and, represent Nashville and this club on the international scale, which is becoming more and more prevalent. So it's something I think is incredibly valuable. I think it's only a matter of time, and to see what's sort of the grassroots movement here and how things are becoming formalized and organized at a very early stage in the club's history is very promising for what we're going to end up accomplishing here.